Well, we do have major stuff coming out of draft weekend with Roger Goodell eyeing moving the Super Bowl and introducing the 18 game schedule. We just moved to 17 games, but it looks like an 18 game schedule will happen. It makes sense in terms of money. And of course, it will also come with bumping down the preseason games to just 2 games. I think at a certain point they might go down to 1 game. Nobody's playing in the preseason anymore. Doesn't make sense with all the studies and the extra hits you would take if you are a star player. The commissioner shared his vision on future changes in an interview with Pat McAfee. Goodell was asked if the NFL would look to expand the regular season again after adding a 17th game in 2021, and he gave an interesting response. He said that he would love to see the league eventually get to 18 games, which would set the stage for the Super Bowl to be moved to a holiday weekend. And isn't that just perfect? Now, it is interesting because I did see a tweet from Joe Burrow, and I'm sure many other NFL players feel the same way. If you're going to add another game, we were originally at 16 games and 1 bye, then we went to 17 games and 1 bye. Now we're going to 18 games. Burrow saying maybe there should be 2 byes, but Goodell is seeing how this would shift things. It would make them more money, and it would also move the Super Bowl to a holiday weekend, President's Day on Monday, giving everyone Monday off, which is what people request. Anyways, it seems like a seamless transition that's probably going to happen at some point within the next several years. If the NFL added one more game to the schedule, the league said it would play 18 regular season games and 2 preseason games, although that really doesn't. It's not like players are going to be playing less because they removed 1 preseason game. Most star players and quarterbacks don't play a single snap in preseason nowadays anyways, so that has very little effect. The preseason is basically meaningless. People just view it as another chance to possibly get injured. Goodell saying, I think we are good at 17 games now, but we're looking at how we continue. I'm not a fan of the preseason. I don't think we need preseason anymore. And that's why preseason may get slashed completely to possibly 1 game. And so the gist of it is, when you look at an 18 game regular season, some people actually do like the fact that 17 games, it's odd, not even. We're so used to the 16 games, teams going 8-8, 9-7. That is one of the annoying things. You're always used to predicting a team 11-5, 10-6. Remember those records? Now you got to add on a game, and maybe we go back to the even schedule because theoretically you would want to play an even number of games, and that would be the 18 game schedule. It would make more money. It would adjust the Super Bowl to that next week, the 3rd Sunday in February, which would give you the off day on Monday. So this feels like it's going to happen. It almost feels inevitable. And the comparison I almost want to use to what's happening right now within the NFL is what happened with the college football playoff. Because we saw the college football playoff get created, the 4-team playoff, but it was really just a stepping stone to the 12-team, and now it looks like 14-team college football playoff. Is the expanded 17 game schedule just a stepping stone to get to an even number again, get to 18 games, possibly happening within the next few years? I don't know how long it's going to take, but I would say within 5 years, we will be at an 18 game NFL regular season schedule, and they might go down to 1 preseason game at some point, honestly. Now, maybe coaches would be against that because it's kind of hard to gauge players, second and third stringers in terms of how good they are if they're only getting 1 game. And you are also seeing, some starters are going to play in the preseason, just not many of the star quarterbacks. Either way, seemingly inevitable, we will be expanding to an 18 game regular season. And then they did also ask Goodell, always interesting, about expansion possibly to another country, which never made sense to me. I wish they would ask him what's going on with NFL expansion, possibly within the United States or maybe to Toronto, Canada. But I believe they asked about, is there going to be an NFL team in London? And he said it's just within the next 10 years, it's not logistically possible. You would have to do some type of block schedule and at least put 2 teams base, or I guess you could just have 1 London team, but their schedule would be completely uncompetitive, and it would be almost impossible for them to sign free agents based on their travel. They would be playing 4 straight home games, 4 straight away games, 4 straight home games again, and then 4 straight away games. Something like that. It would be block scheduling to mitigate the travel issues, and it's just not going to happen. Trust me, if the NFL could get a team logistically in London, they would do it. The market is astronomical, but it's just not going to happen. And Goodell also talking about going to places like Brazil, Mexico, the London games, Germany. They're looking to expand even further and into more countries and really grow the game and try and make more revenue that way. It's all not surprising. And we also had some more interesting information come out about the NFL possibly allowing Guardian caps on helmets during regular season games. Now, the question is, will players actually wear this? This does remind me of a situation in MLB when they offered pitchers the option to wear hardened baseball caps. And I'm going to talk about how that went. This is probably going to go something very similar, but let's take a look at this. The NFL has adjusted its rules to allow players the option to use Guardian caps in regular season games to enhance their protection against head injuries, the league confirmed Friday. Now, why would they do this? When you look at the helmet, it's very unattractive. If all of these players wore them, it would take at least a little bit away from the game, take some getting used to. The NFL understands and realizes that head injuries are so lethal and can be used so negatively against them. It's a silent killer. It's head trauma. It's constantly rattling the brain. And a lot of these players have to wonder, are they sacrificing their 60s, their 70s to make a few $1,000,000? Now, some people think it's worth it, and that's totally fine, but the NFL realizes that they need to do everything in their power to try and significantly bring down the head trauma. Obviously, this is the NFL. You're not going to completely eliminate it. They're not going to go to two-hand touch or anything like that. You also do have the ridiculous rules with hitting the quarterback, and I think that's done a little bit differently. Obviously, the number one reason why that's in place is because they need the starting quarterbacks playing. When you have backup QBs, you've got a lot of injuries, that makes a terrible product for the NFL. And the NFL is not like the NBA or the MLB, where if one player gets hurt, it's not the worst thing in the world. I guess with the NBA, maybe if a superstar goes down, but if the starting quarterback goes down like Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs' season is over. The ratings for the Chiefs game are gonna tank. They've got all these primetime games because they're thinking that Mahomes is going to be there, and imagine if he got hurt. That's why there's such a huge level of protection when it comes to the quarterback. The padded headgear was mandated for players at certain positions during training camp in 2022 and 2023. Speaking earlier this year, an NFL executive vice president, Jeff Miller, said the Guardians caps have contributed to nearly a 50% reduction in concussions for the position groups that wore them during those periods. So when you're wearing them in training camp, obviously there's really nothing to lose. It's just an extra little added protection. It's not like you're on TV or anything like that. Not surprising the NFL would want to test something like this out. In a statement provided Friday to ESPN, he said that now we have 2 years of data showing significant concussion reductions amongst players who wear Guardian caps during practice, so players will be permitted to wear the caps during games this upcoming season. Additionally, there are new helmets this year that provide as much, if not more, protection than a different helmet model paired with a Guardian cap. And so, and that's got to be completely false. I mean, if you've got a Guardian cap over top of a helmet, that's going to be more protection than whatever this new helmet is. But the NFL comes out and says, oh, it's the same, because obviously they want no players wearing this Guardian cap. It just looks ridiculous. It's a bad product, and most players are not going to want to wear it, quite frankly, because it's not cool. Now, whether or not you think that, also, maybe it'll slow them down. Maybe, well, actually, I don't think it would slow them down, but it takes some getting used to. Either way, I don't think pretty much any players are going to wear this. Maybe a few offensive linemen. It reminds me of this MLB relief pitcher who, back in 2013, 2014, wore this crazy hat that just looked ridiculous, and there was significant padded protection in there, and that is to guard against the idea of a line drive coming directly back at the pitcher. And those were happening pretty frequently. They haven't really happened recently, I want to say, knock on wood. We would never want that to happen, a line drive coming at the pitcher. They just threw the pitch. It's impossible to react if it's hit hard enough. And that's why MLB gave players the option to wear this, but it did not catch on at all. As far as I know, that relief pitcher was the only pitcher to wear one of these things. And it's a combination of things. It looks weird. You're in your normal delivery. Maybe it adds weight. It adds something to your head. It feels like your head's being compressed, whatever it is. None of the other players took to it. And I would imagine that's probably going to be a similar situation when it comes to these new helmets that are supposed to guard against concussions, considering it also said in the article, and apparently another thing, the NFL has come out and said they've got 6 new helmet models and players can choose between one of those, and they're constantly improving it because they know that concussions are a silent killer when it comes to their sport. Have concussions actually gone down 2015 to 2023? Now, this has nothing to do with the Guardian helmets. Those have not been worn at all. But if you look at the right column, preseason and regular season, 2015, 275, 243, 281, 214, 224. And then the past 4 years, they have maybe decreased slightly. They were up in the 270s, 280s. They've come down to the lower 2s. But there still is a significant amount of concussions. I do also think, though, and this could be encouraging for the NFL, there are a lot more concussions that are reported now versus even 2015. They've got the independent doctors on the sideline to watch these guys and pull them off, and they are trying to really, do whatever they can. Obviously, there's only so much you can do with a sport like this and with these high-level athletes, but they are offering the idea for new equipment and a Guardian helmet. But unless I'm reading that article wrong, they said that, there's going to be a new helmet model that looks normal that's going to offer the same protection. I highly doubt that. You would think if you're putting something on over top of your helmet, as ridiculous as it looks, and you can see in the practice the players wearing it, if that eliminated concussions, I think they would do it. But if you're talking about, we've got a new model that looks normal and it looks cool, if you will, and you can wear that, and obviously the NFL is going to want the concussions to be limited, but also they're not going to want these, massive helmets to be worn. It'll be interesting to see if anyone actually wears them. I think the linemen wearing them wouldn't be that big of a deal. The position players, it would look pretty ridiculous, but either way, just something to watch. I highly doubt. My prediction, kind of like the I guess the MLB is different. It is different because there's a lot lower % chance of getting hit in the face with a line drive versus getting a concussion in the NFL. So it depends. Maybe there'll be a few players that wear it. Maybe in the preseason they'll test it out, but I'm not expecting some crazy shift, especially if they're making these new normal helmets better and better and better, and they're coming out and saying, the newer normal helmets offer the same protection as the Guardian helmet, which doesn't really make much sense, but I'm sure they want the players to wear the normal helmets, but they also want the concussions to go down for sure, because that is really bad for their league. Either way, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.